Today what I want to talk about is building your computer or PC build, and what specifically I want to talk about is power supplies. So one of my friends actually approached me recently about building a computer because he brought me over an old AM2 chip, and I'm pretty sure it was like an FX something. It was even earlier than an FX, I'm pretty sure. But I was like, nah, this isn't going to do anything. So we sat down, talked about what to do, talked about what components to get and everything, and he got his graphics card. And that reminded me, a lot of people that have asked me about building computers or what specs to get or what things to get and stuff like that don't realize that the power supply is actually a very important, component of your computer. And people do not realize this. They either overcompensate or they undercompensate, or they get one that's good, but it's not as good as it should be. First of all, make sure that every power supply or any power supply you get is a 80 plus efficiency rating. That way you know the power that's going in your system is cleaner. The higher the rating as far as EVGA goes, the higher the tier, the better the efficient the energy is going to the computer, and the cleaner it is. So essentially you got bronze, silver, and gold, okay? And those are different tiers from EVGA. There's also platinum as well. But the biggest issue that I see here is people who are way over buying different PSUs. And I'll give you an example of why you shouldn't just sit here and, one of the people that I know online, he was telling me, he was like, well, I followed this build guide online that was like, just throw this in case you need it, etc., and stuff like that. No. First of all, you watch a PC build on how to build a PC, and then you build the PC with your components that you want. You do not copy a build online. The whole point of watching a PC build video is to literally sit here and learn how to build a PC. You can copy the components, but what I found is a lot of people who are popular on YouTube with PC builds tend to overcompensate to fuck with a lot of the components that are not required. For instance, they put like a 1,000-watt power supply in it, an i7, when you don't need that. The first question that my friend asked me was, or the first question that I asked my friend when he told me he wanted to essentially build a new computer, I said, what are you going to be using it for? Well, what do you think? No, what are you going to be using it for? And he told me, he said, well, mainly games, maybe some production editing and stuff like that. And that's what it comes down to. If you're not going to do mainly major streaming, major production editing, like 4K footage or whatever, an i5 can suit you just fine. An i5 will be there to do that. Now, if you're going to go into streaming while doing all that other stuff, maybe you want to look into an i7. And yes, an i5 can render videos perfectly fine. It just takes longer than an i7. It's not going to kill you, by the way. I'm still running on this. I came from where it took me 15 hours to encode and render my videos to get them into good quality to upload to YouTube, so I know how it is. But the point that I'm getting at here is, the guy online, he eventually sat here and bought a power supply that was 1,000 watts. Now here's the issue. He lives in an apartment complex. So he went based off a video where somebody lived in their own house, their own home, not an apartment complex, in their own home, installing a 1,000-watt power supply. So what do you think happened when he sat here and put everything together? First of all, his total amount that he needed for wattage and everything did not come to a fucking 1,000 watts or anywhere near it. It was about 350 total that drew power from his system. So there's no reason, at most he would have needed was a 600 watt, maybe a 7. Okay, that's just in case for upgradability headroom in the future, and he doesn't want to upgrade his power supply with it. So that doesn't make any sense at all why he would do that. He went off the build guide and was essentially clueless. The other issue is he plugged it all up, he got it all built, and he plugged his, he plugged his computer into the wall and went to go turn it on, and everything in his fucking apartment went off. And why? Well, the power supply is actually drawing more wattage from the wall than was accessible from the outlet. So he had to have the maintenance people and the apartment people come in, put a brand new outlet into his room, put a brand new breaker on the breaker and stuff like that so it didn't trip, and all that other stuff, simply because he wanted, or he went on a build guide with a 1,000-watt power supply. Now, generally speaking, here's the thing with power supplies, and I'm gonna be honest, you don't want to undercompensate, you don't want to overcompensate, because there's no reason to do that. The only reason you should be sitting here putting a 1,200-watt freaking power supply in your system is if you're going to be running like all overclocked dual SLI, which is not worth it in this generation. Dual SLI is not fucking worth it at all, by the way, might I man you. But what it comes down to is you shouldn't be overcompensating for anything at all. Find out how much all those components together in total add up to, and then leave yourself about 300 or 200 watts of headroom. For instance, my total PC build in general, in total, averages about 400 or so watts, about 420 watts. I'm running a 650 watt power supply, okay? So that gives me quite a bit of headroom in case just I want to throw in anything extra or different things like that. And I have a i5 in there with a 1070, with a sound card, with 3 hard drives, with an SSD, with 16 gigabytes of RAM, all that, and a cooler, an air cooler, all that in my system, and it's running perfectly fine, no issues with a 650 watt, okay? So don't overcompensate and don't undercompensate for your power supply, and especially if you're sitting here watching somebody online do a PC build and he just says we're just going to throw in a 900 or 1000 watt power supply for upgradability in the future. I would highly recommend not to follow that shit, because you don't know how good your outlet is, number one, unless you actually own a house and have done the testing. Number two, especially if you live in an apartment complex, power surges and breakers can be tripped easily in an apartment complex. And yes, I do realize it's different over here in the US than over in the UK, but same premises goes. So you just want to make sure that your computer gets good, clean, efficient power, and that you at least leave yourself about 2 or possibly 300 power above what your computer takes headroom. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.